I bet Valve is really sweating, that's why they rushed out this new updated, upgraded version of the Steam Deck.
Hey, how's it going everybody? We have a very special video here today. We are going to be looking at one of the worst Steam Deck related YouTube videos I think I've ever seen. Now, I'm gonna have to say this because there's obviously like the few weirdos out there that take this kind of stuff way too far, but do not go harass the person I'm talking about in this video. It is simply disagreements over video games. Anyway, let's go. So if you don't know, a few days ago, Valve dropped the Steam Deck OLED, which is basically the Steam Deck, but it has an OLED screen. And not only does it have an OLED screen, but it also has like 30 to 50% more battery life, which is awesome, dude. Obviously, it's going to cost a little bit more than the base Steam Deck, but I mean, you're getting your money's worth when you buy the Steam Deck OLED. But the person we're going to be looking at today uploaded a YouTube video called Do Not Buy the Steam Deck OLED. And, you know, I'm intrigued, dude. I want to know why I shouldn't buy it.
So recently, Valve has unexpectedly and suddenly released an update to the Steam Deck OLED, which kind of makes me think that they must be really panicking with all these really cool Windows devices like the ROG Ally here, which I personally think is the best Windows handheld device. With all these new handheld Windows-based gaming consoles coming out recently, I bet Valve is really sweating, that's why they rushed out this new updated, upgraded version of the Steam Deck.
So apparently Valve is panicking. I highly doubt that, dude. I mean, let's go ahead and see how much money Valve is worth. Alright, so I had a little look around online, and pretty much every single source that I looked at said Valve was worth between $7 and $8 billion. I don't think they're worrying, bro. You also said that they're panicking because of devices such as like the ROG Ally. Let's go ahead and compare those sales. Everywhere I've checked online said the ROG Ally sold between 400 and 500,000 units, which is really impressive, I'm not gonna lie. But let's go ahead and look at the Steam Deck. Yeah, I kinda doubt that Valve is like shitting their pants right now.
Which I have to say is kind of lacking in luster as an update.
I don't know what it is with this guy, dude, but every single thing he talks about simply lacks luster. But he does not explain what the fuck that even means. I don't know what he even means by this, dude. I mean, it's like the same thing as the Nintendo Switch OLED. You can pay some extra money to get an OLED screen. But not only do you get an OLED screen with the new Steam Deck, you get more battery life. So the idea of having more battery life and a nicer looking screen simply does not have enough luster for this, man.
And I really just don't recommend buying this upgrade. This Steam Deck OLED version just doesn't really seem like it's that much of a big upgrade apart from, okay, maybe the screen is slightly brighter, slightly sharper, slightly more colourful, but apart from the OLED screen, there doesn't seem to be much of a big difference between the original Steam Deck and this Steam Deck OLED.
I mean, he's right, there isn't that big of a difference between the regular Steam Deck and the Steam Deck OLED. But the reason the Steam Deck OLED exists is because now if somebody goes out to buy a Steam Deck, they can choose whether they want to buy the original Steam Deck, or if they want to pay a little bit of extra money to get the OLED screen and increased battery life. This guy is assuming that just because the Steam Deck OLED came out, everyone's just gonna drop their Steam Deck and upgrade straight away. That's not the case, dude. I mean, imagine if everyone did that with computer graphics cards.
So I got the spec comparison on my phone, and looking at the spec sheets, there doesn't really seem to be much of a difference.
Oh boy, I'm gonna have fun tearing this argument apart.
A difference between 6 or 7 nanometers. You got the RAM, it's updated to LPDDR5 6400 RAM instead of the LPDDR5 5500 RAM, which was in the original Steam Deck. And then we have the
So you have some upgraded RAM. I mean, that's pretty cool, dude. That's a good thing.
display. Obviously, it's OLED display. It's now got thinner bezels, but the new display is 7.4 inch compared to 7 inch on the original Steam Deck. So it's like 0.4 inches of a difference. It's like that much, barely anything.
I don't know about y'all, but a bigger screen only seems like a positive to me.
And then you got the refresh rate at 90 Hz compared to 60 Hz. So, okay, you got a bit of a bump up in refresh rate, but come on, are you really going to notice 30 Hz of refresh rate?
Yes, you would absolutely notice that, dude. I mean, I notice a massive difference like between 45 and 60 Hz. So you would absolutely see a difference between 60 and 90. And considering a lot of games can run around 100 FPS, like Doom 2016 for example, who wouldn't want a higher refresh rate to go along with that? Having a high refresh rate is amazing because it eliminates pretty much all input delay.
I don't really notice that much. So we also got a storage upgrade of 512 gigabytes up from 256, and we've got a slightly bigger battery. The new battery is at 50 watts compared to a 45 watt battery in the original LCD Steam Deck, which is an improvement of 5 watts, which isn't that much. It's like a 10% increase in the battery. So when I did my testing on the Steam Deck when I had it last year, I think I could play AAA games for about an hour. So 10% of 1 hour is like 10 minutes. So you got an extra 10 minutes of gaming. Whoop-de-doo.
Not everyone only plays AAA games, dude. I mean, there's a lot of games out there that do not take that much battery. Dark Souls 2, for example, I played through that on my Steam Deck. The battery life was like 7 hours. You add an extra 10% onto that, that's quite a bit of extra time.
I sold my Steam Deck, by the way, so I could get the ROG Ally, which, like I said earlier, the ROG Ally is so much better. And also, the ROG Ally doesn't have an OLED screen. It has a very high quality LCD panel, but it still blows the Steam Deck OLED screen out of the water, and it's got a really good refresh rate as well.
You lost your privileges to talk about refresh rates ever again when you said you wouldn't find a difference between 60 and 90 Hz.
And also the weight of the Steam Deck OLED is now 640 grams instead of 669 grams of the original Steam Deck. So it is slightly lighter. So those comparison specs, there's not really much of a big difference to make it worth upgrading from the LCD Steam Deck to the OLED Steam Deck.
I don't think this guy realizes that not everyone just immediately upgrades whenever a new system or something comes out. Like when the new Nintendo Switch OLED came out, not everyone just dropped their Nintendo Switch and immediately bought the OLED. It is simply an option for people thinking about buying a Steam Deck. They can say, okay, I'll pay an extra X amount of money for an extra frame rate, more battery life, and an OLED screen.
Unless you really want that OLED, and I don't really know why you'd want an OLED screen that desperately. I have the Switch OLED and I have the ROG Ally, and when I compare the screens, they basically look the same. Let me go and get my Switch OLED. Okay, so here we have Cult of the Lamb loaded up on both the ROG Ally and my Switch OLED, and the purpose of this video or this test is to show you that there's basically no difference between a high quality LCD panel and an OLED.
Yeah, you might not see a difference in this YouTube video, but I promise if you hold an OLED screen next to a regular screen side by side in your hands, you will see a difference. It's a lot like frame rate in a way. In a YouTube video, if somebody's playing at 30 FPS and then plays at 60 FPS, you might not notice a difference watching the video. But when you play a game at 30 FPS and then play it at 60, you will absolutely notice a difference.
So first of all, here's some gameplay on the Switch OLED. I'll show you what it looks like. It doesn't look great because I'm showing you through a camera, so it's going to look kind of weird, but this is the best we can do really. So this is what the game plays and looks like. Yeah, it looks pretty good, but just hold on. I'll show you the ROG Ally in a minute.
Are you seriously going to try to compare the graphics of a game on a Switch OLED to the graphics of that same game on a ROG Ally? Of course it's gonna look better on the Ally, dude. The Ally is a much more powerful console. Why don't you actually show side by side a Steam Deck and a Steam Deck OLED, or a Switch and a Switch OLED?
So this is the Switch OLED display. Now I'm going to show you the ROG Ally display. Okay, so here's the ROG Ally display, same game, although the camera angle seems to be more zoomed out than on the Switch OLED. The game feels way faster and snappier. This is like a difference between light and day.
This is not anything to do with the OLED screen, dude. This is to do with the graphical capabilities of both systems. The ROG Ally is capable of much better and nicer looking graphics than the Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch OLED. If you really wanted to compare an OLED screen to a non-OLED screen, take two Nintendo Switches, one OLED and one non-OLED, load up the same game in the same area and show them side by side. I fail to see how you can have a channel based around reviewing electronics and games and not know this.
Oh my god. This feels kind of slow. Look at the delay when I'm moving the character. I press it and then he moves.
This is because the game's frame rate is probably around 30 frames per second on the Nintendo Switch. And that's why people complain about 30 FPS so much, because it has a noticeable input delay. Of course it's gonna feel choppy if you go from playing at 90 FPS down to 30.
I press it and then he moves. I press it and then he moves. I press roll and then he moves. Look, pressing it. There's a slight delay.
Of course you're gonna have input delay on a port of the game that gives you like 30 FPS. When you have a low frame rate, it gives you extra latency due to the increased time between each frame. And this is especially the case on a lot of console games because they have something called VSync on. And what VSync does is it waits for every single frame to be rendered before moving on to the next. Having VSync on prevents screen tearing, but it also adds input delay, and the lower your frame rate is, the more input delay you're going to get. I just find it awfully funny that you were complaining earlier that an increase from 60 to 90 Hz wasn't that big of a deal, but when decreased to like 30 Hz, here you are crying about it.
I mean, the Steam Deck is okay and everything for its price, but it is very limiting, and it doesn't have Windows, it has Linux.
I'm not sure if you know this or not, dude, but you can download Windows on Linux on the Steam Deck and use it as your main operating system. Holy shit, there's no way this is a serious video on the internet, dude. I'm about to fucking break something, dude. This is pissing me off.
Which means you don't get Xbox Gaming Pass, you don't have Blizzard Store, so you can't play Diablo unless you download some thingamajig.
What you fail to realize is that you also have to do that exact same thing on PC. For example, you want to play Diablo 4, first you gotta download the Blizzard launcher. It is no different on the Steam Deck.
You can do this stuff, I'm not saying you can't do it. It's just, it requires extra steps. To be able to do stuff you can do straight out of the box with the RG Ally. The RG Ally comes with Windows 11 built in.
That's a fucking shame because Windows 11 blows, man. Windows 10 is much better. I am still on Windows 10 on my computer and I have no plans to change that.
You can do anything you can do on the computer, like download Diablo or World of Warcraft or Epic Game Store or Xbox Gaming Pass, not just Steam, and do what you would do on a computer on the RG Ally. But with the Steam Deck, you can only use Steam and download Steam games.
This is a straight up lie, bro. When I got my Steam Deck, one of the first games that I downloaded for it was Minecraft Java Edition, which is not on Steam.
And then if you want to do anything else, you have to like Google how to sideload Windows or download some app or program to let you do the things you can already just do on the RG Ally. So
oh no, you have to go through a tiny little bit of effort in order to get a game to run. Boo-hoo, dude. I mean, seriously, I'm gonna say this and it might upset some people, but if you're scared of a little bit of troubleshooting in order to get a game to work, do not come to PC.
I don't know why you'd buy the Steam OLED over the RG Ally. When they come out with the Steam Deck 2, which actually runs Windows natively by default, then it's a different conversation. But this upgrade, the Steam Deck OLED upgrade, is barely an upgrade. It just gives you an OLED screen, which I think I've proved there's no difference.
You proved absolutely nothing, bro. You showed a video game on the Nintendo Switch with an OLED screen, and then you showed that exact same video game on a system 10 times more powerful. And another thing is you didn't even tell us what graphic settings you were using. And he basically spends the rest of the video talking about how the ROG Ally is just amazing. So we're gonna end it here. I can't believe I had to sit through that, dude. Alright, peace.